You might be surprised by what I'm about to share, but it's crucial to stay silent and focused on what's coming your way. You're watching another video exclusively for the chosen ones. If you are not one of the chosen ones, it is likely that you will not watch this video to the end. Feel free to turn it off, as the content may not resonate or vibrate with your soul or spirit. However, if you are a true chosen one, you will fully understand everything I'm about to explain. I stand before you today, not as someone who has all the answers, but as a humble servant of the Almighty, called to bring you a word that will ignite a fire in your soul. You are not created for mediocrity, nor were you destined to live a life bound by chains that were never meant to hold you. Today, the Word of God comes to you like a consuming fire, a fire that will break strongholds, lift the veils from your eyes, and set you on the path to spiritual victory. What I bring before you today is the power of fasting and prayer, a divine combination that unlocks the gates of heaven and releases the floodgates of God's power into your life. This is not an old practice forgotten by modern society. It is a timeless weapon handed down by the Creator Himself. Fasting and prayer are spiritual keys that can turn what seems impossible into God's realm of possibility. If you've been wandering in circles, praying without seeing answers, or facing battles that seem too big to win, then this message is for you. Today, we will dive deep into the mystery of fasting. You will learn how fasting is not just a religious tradition, but a powerful tool that unleashes God's will in your life. We will explore the biblical foundation for fasting and prayer, and how it leads to spiritual breakthroughs, divine direction, breaking of strongholds, and alignment with God's will. We will also see how, in times of crisis, fasting has the power to turn desperation into divine intervention. Stay with me, for this message will not just touch your mind, it will set your heart on fire. Welcome to a word of wisdom. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, like the video, and turn on notifications to keep up to date with the Word of God. I want you to understand this, my brothers and sisters. Fasting and prayer are not mere spiritual exercises, they are acts of war. When you fast, you declare war on the forces that have kept you bound. When you pray, you release spiritual artillery that strikes at the heart of your enemy. Together, they create a combination so powerful that it shakes the foundations of the spiritual realm. In Matthew 17:21, Jesus told his disciples, "This kind can come out only by prayer and fasting." Here, Jesus reveals a secret to us. There are certain spiritual strongholds and demonic forces that will only bow when you combine prayer with fasting. There are issues in your life that will remain unbroken until you fast. You've prayed for years, you've fasted at times, but perhaps you've not fully combined the two. I tell you, the enemy is terrified of this combination because it brings the power of heaven to earth. Consider Daniel, a man highly esteemed in the courts of heaven. When he fasted for 21 days seeking divine understanding, he unlocked not just a revelation but angelic intervention. Daniel 10:12-13 tells us that from the moment Daniel set his heart to understand and humbled himself before God, the answer was sent. Yet the angel revealed that there had been spiritual resistance in the heavenly realms. This is your reality, child of God. The moment you fast and pray, the answer is dispatched, but you must persist. The forces of darkness tremble when you fast because they know fasting accelerates your prayers, giving them wings to pierce through the heavens and touch the throne of God. How many of you are standing at the crossroads today, unsure of which way to turn? The decisions you make today will affect not only you but also your family, your future, and generations to come. You need divine direction, and I tell you, fasting is the key. When you fast, your spiritual ears become more attuned to the voice of God. The noise of the world begins to fade, and his whispers become clear. Think about Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah. When the armies of Moab and Ammon rose against him, Jehoshaphat did not panic. He proclaimed a fast throughout all Judah, 2 Chronicles 23. In that moment of crisis, when the enemy was closing in, fasting was the key to hearing God's voice. And the voice of God said, "Do not be afraid or dismayed because of this great multitude, for the battle is not yours but God's." Do you understand what fasting does? It clears the fog, it brings clarity in the midst of confusion. The enemy thrives in confusion. He wants you to feel overwhelmed and paralyzed, but fasting brings you into alignment with the mind of God. And when you know the will of God, no enemy can stand against you. Look at Moses. Before he received the law on Mount Sinai, he fasted for 40 days, Exodus 34:28. He sought the face of God, and in that place of sacrifice, God revealed his divine will for Israel. Brothers and sisters, some of you are waiting on God to speak, but I tell you, God is waiting on you to fast. He's waiting for you to create the space for him to move. If you need direction, if you're waiting for a word from the Lord, let fasting be your preparation, and his voice will come like thunder. Some of you listening to me today are bound in ways no human effort can free you from strongholds, addictions, cycles of sin, generational curses. These things have wrapped themselves around your life, and no matter how hard you try, you cannot break free. But I stand before you to declare that through fasting and prayer, the chains are broken. Isaiah 58:6 says, "Is this not the fast that I have chosen to loose the bonds of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, to let the oppressed go free, and that you break every yoke?" This is the kind of fast that God honors, a fast that sets captives free, a fast that destroys yokes. You see, the devil does not want you to fast because he knows fasting weakens his grip on your life. Every time you deny your flesh, you weaken the chains that bind you. Fasting amplifies the authority of Christ in your life. When you fast, you are telling the devil, "I am no longer a slave to my desires, I belong to Christ." You are reclaiming the territory that the enemy has stolen from you. Remember the story of Esther. When Haman's plot to destroy the Jews was revealed, Esther didn't just go to the king to plead for her people. She called for a 3-day fast, Esther 4:16. It was through this fast that God moved on behalf of the Jewish people and turned the plot of the enemy back on his own head. The stronghold of death that hung over the Jews was broken because of fasting and prayer. I don't know what stronghold you're facing today, but I know this fasting can break it. It's time to stop fighting in your own strength. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal but mighty through God for the pulling down of strongholds, 2 Corinthians 10:4. Fasting is one of those mighty weapons. Use it and watch the enemy flee. Chosen one. Fasting without purpose is starvation. You must fast with intention, with a specific goal in mind. Most importantly, you must fast to align your heart with God's will. Too often we approach fasting like a transaction. God, I'm fasting so you'll give me what I want. But fasting is not about twisting God's arm to get what you want. It's about transforming your heart so your desires align with His. Psalm 37:4 tells us, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." What does that mean? It means that as you delight in Him, as you seek Him through fasting and prayer, your desires will begin to reflect His desires. Your will begins to conform to His will. Fasting puts your heart in sync with God's heart. In the Garden of Gethsemane, before Jesus went to the cross, He prayed and fasted. His words were profound. "Father, if it is your will, take this cup away from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done." Luke 22:42. Jesus, in His humanity, expressed His desire, but in the end, He submitted to the Father's will. This is the heart of fasting, emptying yourself and surrendering your will so that God's perfect will can be done in your life. Some of you are in a battle between your desires and God's will. You've been asking for things that are not aligned with His purpose for you, but I tell you, fasting will shift your desires. Fasting will bring you into alignment with His divine plan, and when you are aligned with God's will, all of heaven moves on your behalf. Fasting is not just about physical hunger, it's about spiritual humility. It's about acknowledging that you are not sufficient in yourself, but that you need the power of God to sustain you. James 4:10 says, "Humble yourselves before the Lord, and He will lift you up." When you fast, you are humbling your soul. You are saying, "Lord, I am weak, but you are strong." It is in this place of humility that God's power is made perfect in you. As Paul said in 2 Corinthians 12:9, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Fasting is a declaration of dependence. It is a statement to the world, to your flesh, and to the devil that you are not your own. You belong to God, and He alone is your sustenance. As Jesus said in Matthew 4:4, "Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God." When you fast, you are feeding on the Word of God. You are allowing His Word to nourish your soul in a way that physical food never could.